quest to succeed. Chapter 10. After his final examination, Jay returned to his village. Apart from providing education to their children, Indian parents felt responsible for their marriage. Arranged marriages were common in the 1950s. Jay's parents also thought that Jay had now completed his graduation, and a few families had approached them to wed their daughter in the family. Jay was not against parents arranging his marriage. He, however, expressed the view that he wanted to get a job and start to earn some money before getting married. His mother said to him that he does not have to take his wife with him immediately after marriage. She could stay with the family in the village. Despite Jay's opposition, his parents agreed with the family that they could arrange their daughter's marriage with him. His father said that he has given his word to the girl's father. Jay respected his dad and knew that he, father, had always supported him since childhood, even in his decision to leave the village at the age of 9 and not to attend the primary school. Marriage was a social and religious occasion. Social in the sense that it brought the two individuals and two families closer. After the wedding, the girl tends to live with the boy's family. The boy was also integrated as a member of the girl's family. It was a religious event because many rituals and events took place at this juncture. After the introduction of the young couple and their families, engagement was the main event when a date for marriage was finalized. The date could be within weeks, months, or more than a year. A shagun gift was provided to the boy by the girl's family. It was considered auspicious and a blessing. Often sweets, dry fruits, and an envelope with money were accoutered to the would-be groom. The other functions were to take place during the wedding week. These included the haldi. Turmeric is applied to boys' and girls' body by their relatives and family members. The mehdi, henna, and the sangeet, music, were held by the families in accordance with their convenience. Both the families celebrated these moments. When the marriage party arrives at the bride's house, the groom and bride place garland on each other's neck. The members of the marriage party are also garlanded. It is a welcoming symbol. This custom was started by Maharaja Dushyant of Hastinapur more than 5,000 years ago. He also started the ring ceremony when he wed Shakuntala, who lived in her father Rishi Vishwamitra's ashram education campus. Jay's marriage took place during the same summer season, when he finished his college education in the city. He had never met or seen his future wife. A group of relatives and village people went to the bride's village by train and bus. The ceremony was performed according to the ancient Hindu social and religious tradition with hymns and 7 rounds around the fire. It was called Sat Fair, 7 circumambulations. It could be translated as a nuptial rite. There was no registration or legal document. The only witnesses were the relatives of both families present at the ceremony. The question Jay asked himself, what was the significance of Sat Fair, 7 rounds around the fire? What was the substance and meaning of this process? Fire had been considered sacred in Hinduism and Zoroastrianism. This had existed for thousands of years and had been explained in the Manusmriti, memoirs of Maharaja Manu, and the Samved, which dealt with the social customs. Each fera, circumambulation, round the fire symbolized a commitment by the couple. This was an oath or determination of 7 acts in married life. It was a representation of commitment by the bride and the groom. They did not normally pronounce it, but the priest explained and spoke these pledges on behalf of the marrying couple. First, fera was for food and nourishment. The couple walked together praying to the deities to provide food. It was a promise that a married couple would work together in order to provide food for the family. The second, fera, was a covenant to grow mentally, physically, and spiritually fit to enjoy their lives together. The third fera indicated a promise to earn an honest living, so they could live comfortably as a family. The fourth fera was to maintain a strong family relationship and to share happiness with parents and other members of the family. The fifth fera was a bond to make their children healthy and courageous. It was for their character building as well. The sixth fera was for a long and peaceful life in the community. The seventh fera was for living a life of love, compassion, friendship, and mutual trust. These 7 feras made the marriage eternal, happy, and sociable. This social custom was also considered as a religious ceremony. It had persisted in the Indian communities for a long time. At this occurrence, Jay did not invite his friends from the college days, though his dad asked him to countenance a few friends. He told his dad that he left the college and the town. He did not want to carry any baggage from the old times. He did not believe in having permanent friends. The marriage party came back to his village with the new bride, who was looked after by his family. He did not have an opportunity to see her or to speak to her. A few days later, the new bride's brothers took her to their parents' house. Jay stayed in his village and started to examine the progress of the villages. The rural development in India was slow. While urbanization started and continued since the 1950s, villages remained underdeveloped. The Indian villagers depended on agriculture and related jobs. Most villagers were landholders, but there were some landless laborers. There had been some efforts to provide land to these workers through the Bhudan movement, Donate Land. The large landowners were asked to dispense 5 acres of land to landless people who could cultivate their own crops as well as to continue to work for others. It would increase their income and make their lives secure. Still, the problem has not been solved, and villagers continue to flock to cities in the hope that city life would be better than their life in the village, and they would have better food and enjoy other amenities in the city. Jay saw such a situation in the case of a landless farmer's family who lived in the northeast of his village. The farmer himself worked for large farm owners. His wife worked as a cook and domestic cleaner at the feudal lord's house. Because of lack of health services and lack of dental hygiene, they both lost some teeth and looked more than their age. They had 3 sons. None of them went to study outside the village. All of them had only the primary education. But all 3 boys were smart. The eldest son, Paras, started to work on daily wages. Sometimes he could not find work. Due to heavy rains, their house fell. There was also malaria and dengue in the village. The farmer and his wife died in this pandemic. There was not much work available in the village. The boys decided to try their luck in a big city like Delhi. They had enough money for the train fare and expenses for a few days. They were under the impression that the city people were rich and they lived a comfortable life. They left the village and walked to the railway station, which was 3 miles away. When they were on their way to the local station, they dreamt of eating food of their own choice in the big city. The eldest of them, Paras, said that when he finds a job, he will have puri, fried small chapatis, with mixed curry of peeled potatoes and peeled tomatoes, semolina pudding for dessert. The middle one, Chetan, said that he would be happy with parathas and cauliflower and potato vegetable. It should have green coriander on top of it. He would have bundi and yogurt raita with his food, which would be satisfying. Bundis are fried tiny balls made with gram flour. The youngest, Chirag, who was only 14 years of age, said that, "I would like to have the same food as mother used to make in the village. I would have mixed green sag, puree, which should contain mustard green leaves, fenugreek, green chickpeas leaves, and spinach. Mother used to make all that and serve with chapatis. I would like to have buttermilk, chach, which should have dry mint, a little salt and black pepper in it." Conversing with each other and expressing themselves about their choice of food, they reached the local railway station. The eldest brother, Paras, who had money, bought tickets for Delhi. The train was crowded. They entered a compartment which had seats available. They sat down alongside each other. The train reached Delhi Junction in 3 hours. Many trains arrived at this big station from various parts of the country. They came out of the station. Paras and Chetan, the eldest and the middle boys, were together. The youngest boy, Chirag, was pushed in the crowd and got separated from his brothers. Paras, the eldest of brothers, said to Chetan that, "We have lost Chirag. We should not try to find him. He would not get a job because of his age and will be a burden on us. If we cannot see him around, so be it." They both moved on and did not look for their youngest brother, who was alone in the big city. They reached Shakur Basti, a shanty town where they stayed overnight. A family from another village provided them a room where they placed their clothes and other possessions. Next morning, they both set out in search of a job. After a while, they decided to buy a big basket made of straw called Jali and reached Sadr Bazaar. They were hired to carry shopping by households. Old Delhi's lanes were small. Raksha could not go there. Jaliwala's basket carrier used to take the shopping to people's houses. Shopkeepers also hired Paras and Chetan to bring goods from their warehouses. They liked working for the shopkeepers rather than carrying goods for the shoppers. They became attached to some business people who were close to each other. It became their permanent work. They did not have to wait for individual shoppers to be asked to take their shopping to different houses. The business people felt that the workers would bring goods from warehouses. Paras and Chetan were sure they would have employment, though it was on daily wages and not permanent. Often the goods were brought in bales, which were wrapped in jute cloth sheeting and had iron bands around them. The shopkeepers kept their goods in warehouses because their shops were small and they could not keep many things there. As the stocks were sold to customers, they used to acquire from their warehouses. If a shopkeeper did not have enough work, he used to ask his neighboring business person to use the services of Paras and Chetan. For the brothers, there was something or the other to do every day. They were earning some money, but their income was just enough to pay rent, buy food, and other essentials. Initially, they slept on the floor in a room. After 2 weeks, they bought 2 folding beds. They used to fold the beds to make space to cook food. They continued to work in Sadr Bazaar and lived in the shanty town, Shakur Basti. They forgot about their youngest brother and did not remember him at all. When he was separated from his brothers at Delhi railway station on the first day in the city, Chirag looked for them all around but could not find the duo. He continued to walk straight, sometimes turning back or looking sideways for his elder brothers. He reached Fatehpuri Cloth Market, which was a wholesale market for cotton and woolen cloths. He was tired and stopped outside a shop. The owner of that shop was an elderly gentleman in his late 50s. He saw this tired and frustrated boy. He offered him a place to sit down and water to drink. He asked him whether he was lost or was new to Delhi. Chirag told the businessman that he came to Delhi from village with his 2 brothers. Because of the crowd outside the railway station, he was pushed and became separated from them. He looked everywhere but could not find them. I do not know anyone in this big city. We came to start our new lives. I do not have any money. All the money was with my eldest brother Paras. The shopkeeper was a kind man who guided Chirag to a nearby Dharamshala inn where he could stay overnight, free of charge. He also gave him some money for food. Chirag said that he could not take any money from him. The shopkeeper asked him to clean the outer part of the shop. This money will be a payment for his work. He also helped the shopkeeper to arrange the cloth bundles on the shelves. He then accepted the money for his help. It was just enough to buy him food, water, and a cup of tea. The shopkeeper asked him to come back to his shop if he does not find his brothers. Next morning, Chirag went around markets in the vicinity, but he could not see his brothers anywhere. Chirag then went back to the shopkeeper, who told him that he could not offer him a job, though he needed a helper to show the cloth to customers. He was still under age for employment. He, however, said, "You could bring lunch from my house and help the lady of the house with some domestic work, for which you would be provided food and a room to live. I will find you a room at a convenient place. We will also provide you pocket money." Chirag accepted the offer. He used to bring lunch for the shopkeeper from his house and wait at the shop when the shop owner had his lunch. He observed the trade and the dealings with customers. He started to learn basic accounting. He knew reading and writing. He had done numbers, division, and multiplication at his primary school. He could work out the cost of cloth by multiplying the length by price per meter. He also picked up English words and could recognize the address on bales of cloth. This continued for 3 years. Chirag had learned the art of cloth business. He also saved some of his pocket money. When he was 17 years of age, he started to help the shopkeeper and sit on his own at the shop when the owner had to go out. He could look after the shop, open in the morning and close in the evening, if needed. He gained experience and earned the trust of the businessman. He sometimes dealt with customers and their purchases without help from the owner. Chirag was a soft-spoken and polite young man. The customers and other shopkeepers were impressed with him. At the age of 20, he ran a retail business. He would report everything to the shop owner. He had gained respect along with trust. The shopkeeper helped him in finding his own place to live, which was a 2-bedroom flat at Fatehpuri in Old Delhi. An elderly lady used to cook his food. He was a contented and happy young man. His body and face changed because of age compared to the time when he arrived from the village. One day he was walking through the Chandni Chowk market. He saw both his brothers on the pavement. They were going to some place. They stopped at a public water tap to drink water. He recognized them, but they could not recognize him because his face had changed in 6 years, from the age of 14 to over 20 years now. They had not seen each other for that period. He asked them who they were and which village they came from. He did not tell anything about himself. Neither did they question him. He asked whether they would like to come to his house on a Sunday. When they agreed, he asked them to meet him at the corner of Fatehpuri market at 12 noon next Sunday. Paras and Chetan turned up at the appointed time. Chirag took them to his flat. He gave them water to wash their hands. He served them food of their choice, which they had discussed on their way from the village to the local railway station more than 6 years earlier. Their food was served on the dining table. Paras and Chetan were asked to sit in chairs. He himself sat down with his food on a mat on the floor. Paras and Chetan were surprised to see the situation. The elder one, Paras, asked him, "Sir, why are you sitting on the floor when you have offered us ordinary workers to sit in chairs and our food laid on a big table?" Chirag said to them, "Please have your lunch. I will explain everything when we sit down in the sitting room." After finishing their meal, they all sat down on a sofa. He looked at the elder one and said, "Your name is Paras. The younger of the two is Chetan. You belong to a village near a railway station. When you walked from the village to the railway station, you talked about having food of your choices in Delhi. This was the food you decided to have. Puris and potatoes mixed with tomato curry for the eldest. Cauliflower, potatoes vegetable was served with parathas for Chetan. The village-type chapatis with mixed saag puree with buttermilk was provided for Chirag. They both questioned again, "But how did you know about our conversation on the way from village to the railway station?" Chirag said, "If only 3 people knew about your personal choices, both of you have lived together for more than 6 years, it should be obvious that the third person is your youngest brother Chirag. I am Chirag, brothers." Paras and Chetan felt ashamed for their action and thought that the youngest would be a burden on them. He would not be able to obtain an employment. They noticed that he had made substantial progress and had become a businessman on his own right by working hard and honestly. The older brothers were still daily wage earners and carried straw baskets. They could not face him and left his flat. They never met again because they had different ways of thinking and actions. Their standards of living had changed. Now they were living in separate locations. One had a middle-class job as a shopkeeper. The other 2 were lower working class, living in a shanty town.